It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily. With positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into our newest edition of Beyond the Headlines. I'm your host, Renee Washington. I'm so excited to bring you today's episode because last few episodes, we've been very heavy into music, learning about some upcoming rappers and artists. Well, today I have to take you on a spiritual journey as we have our Positive Vibes Only segment with a great guest joining us from out of Arizona. That's right, we are all over the map on this show. And we have a guest joining us from Arizona. He goes by the name of Pharaoh Kyle. He's going to be talking to us about his spiritual journey, his work as a transformation coach, as an entrepreneur, his seminars, his book, all the great things that he has coming up and that he's working on. And I am so excited to bring you some positivity and inspiration today as we get into our Positive Vibes Only segment. So I hope you guys are ready because I know I am to learn more about Pharaoh Kyle and all the great things he's got going on in Arizona.
What's up? It's Microphone Rocky, and with everything going on right now, we can all use a lot more positivity in our lives. Thankfully, we got Renee Washington here with Positive Vibes Only.
All right, here he is joining us from the beautiful Arizona. It's a little bit nicer than it is in New Jersey, I guess. But we've got our guest, Pharaoh Kyle, Ryan Kyle, and we'll learn more about that too. But welcome. It's nice to have you here joining us for our Positive Vibes Only segment.
Hello, welcome. Listen, as I was hearing and listening to that intro, I was like, man, I need you to go with me everywhere. I feel amped up hearing about how you presented me. So thank you so much for that. It was lovely.
I love that. I'll be your cheerleader. I'll root you on,
Yep.
give you the intro, alley-oop you so you can take it off from there. But you do a lot of incredible things, and I definitely want to get into it because I feel like people need some extra positivity, especially as we're getting into the holiday season. With the change of seasons, the change of weather, all that's going on, it's definitely, I feel like more now than ever, like mental health is a bigger focus on even how we're coming out of COVID and how we're getting fully into the fall. So I'm curious to know first, what's going on with you? What's new? How's your October going? How are things going on your end personally and professionally?
Awesome. Man, October is amazing. It's so interesting because, we're talking about seasons, but I'm into, seasons, the astrology, what's going on the planet. And, in astrology, we ended a retrograde about 2 days ago. And for those of you who don't know, retrograde is a time where, astrologers believe that the planet Mercury, from the vantage point of the US, or from the world rather, it looks like it's spinning backwards. And Mercury is the planet that deals with communication. So a lot of miscommunications and things like that going on. So with that, I've seen a lot of people that I work with, they've had lots of miscommunication in relationships, heard things wrong, took things the wrong way. So I'm very glad that season is over and we can get right back on track.
I'm not a big astrology person. I'm getting better at it. I'm starting to understand more of zodiac signs, astrology, what each time of year means. And it's really accurate. It's really accurate. And it's just mind blowing to me how spot on it is. When I learned more and more and started reading things, I'm like, wow, this is like taking an inside glimpse into my own life. So I'm sure you are like astrology 101 expert, and I'm going to give you your flowers for even tapping into that, because I feel like it probably does help a lot with you being able to read, and talk to different people about the different things they're going through with that season. So, okay.
Yeah. Can I say one thing about
that?
Go
ahead, jump in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to touch on this because, in the work that I do, it's all about the person. And you mentioned this earlier. We're in a time where mental health has a lot of awareness, which is phenomenal. There's been so many people just trying to cope with the thoughts and the trauma and the things that have been going on, in their mind. And it's been looked down upon to talk to a therapist. So I'm glad that we're coming out of that. But the reason why astrology is important, and I'm so glad that you two have also been looking into your chart, is because it gives us a snapshot of the energy of us, of self. therapy and those things are phenomenal. You should be doing therapy. But when it comes to astrology, it's what is what is the energy of you? And I'm gonna give you a quick example. For those people who are like, man, I don't know about astrology. I don't know if it's real. But we do know for a fact that the planets affect life here on Earth. For example, when there's a full moon, what does it do? It affects the tides. It affects the waters. Humans, we're over 70% water. So it affects our body. And, if you look up statistics, crime, different things goes up during the full moon because there's so many people who can't control or don't know how to utilize that energy in their body, and they, start to do crazy things. So I would encourage everyone to get into astrology because you will see aspects about yourself that help you understand yourself. And guess what? When you start to view yourself differently and understand some of the shadow areas or some of those parts of you that you may not know as well, you can start to make better decisions and work on yourself. And that's the biggest thing right now. We should be at a place where we're working on ourselves to be the best version of who we are.
I love that you're already bringing the positivity, bringing the inside perspective on even something as simple as learning about astrology. That's why I said, in all seriousness, when I really started tapping into it, it gave me a better sense of self. And I'm very big on, just being self-aware. We've got to understand our identity, what we're feeling in that moment, why we're feeling it in that moment, what is going on in our lives, and psychologically, mentally, emotionally, being able to tap into all those areas is so crucial as we're trying to juggle all these different things, wear all these different hats. At the end of the day, we have to really have a better understanding of really what's going on and who we are. So I love that you're sharing that impact, but even touching on mental health and the value of that, because we're starting to have more comfort in talking about it and opening up about it, especially in minority communities, Black communities, being more open to talk about mental health. And I know that you have to do a lot of work around meditation, astrology, self-awareness, identity, purpose, mental health. Just shed a light on the value of your work. And we'll get into more specifically for those that are watching exactly what you do so they have a better understanding of exactly who you are. But while we're on that mental health topic, talk to us about the value of it and how you've seen such value in being able to have these open conversations around it.
For sure. I love that. Okay, so the first thing I would do is, let you all know that there's many aspects of the self. Think about it. You have a physical body, and one thing that psychiatrists, psychologists, scientists, what we've discovered is that our physical body actually stores traumas. So a lot of things that we go through, it affects us mentally, but our physical body also. That's why you can, go around somebody or a certain situation that seems familiar. And guess what? Your hairs on your body start to stand up or you get goosebumps. It's because your body is trying to alert you of something. So I say that to say, so we have our physical body that stores trauma. Then we have our memory, our mind. We've gone through things and it hurts so bad. A lot of times if people don't know how to deal with it, guess what they do? They bury it down. And we think, and we've heard that time heals all, but that's not necessarily true. What we find is that time can help you suppress or forget about it. But guess what? A situation is going to come up in your life and, something happens, and we all know this word triggers. There's internal, there's external triggers. And then guess what? You get triggered, and you can be triggered by something that reminds you of a situation 5, 10, 15 years ago, and you go through a lot of trauma. It's because that thing hasn't been healed. So we have the mental body where we're storing these memories. We have the physical bodies, and then spiritually. Spiritually is when we feel like, man, there's so much more in us. There's greatness or we have a mission in life and we can't tap into it, or we can't seem to get in tune with ourselves. So the focus of my work, and I know we're going to get into more of it later, but it's helping people connect that mind, the body, and the soul. Because when we feel completely connected, that's when we feel limitless and powerful.
Oh, you're already dropping gems and I'm loving it. But you know what? It's funny that as you were even saying that, it was triggering from my own perspective, the way that certain smells can trigger a memory or feelings or sounds. When I think of, I know I used to work in racing, for example. So when I hear certain sounds of engines, my mind immediately takes me back to being on the racetrack. There are certain perfumes and smells and even I just went back to my high school for the first time in over 10 years. And I walked in the basketball gym where I spent many, 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 many hours and days and months and years. And that smell immediately took me back. So you're talking about even on the other end, the triggers that come with that. When you don't have that closure, let's say it has been something traumatic or something unfortunate or a bad experience, just how powerfully that can affect you as well to be in that moment taken back.
Yes.
So okay, we're jumping the gun a little bit here because you're already dropping gems and people don't even know fully who you are. So the first thing I want to ask you to share with everybody is exactly all that you do, because you wear many hats. And so I don't want to just do a disservice to your work as a coach, as an entrepreneur, at all the courses and teachings that you're offering around this. So from your beautiful Arizona home, share with everybody tuning in, what exactly do you do, Pharaoh Kyle? What's your work that you're specializing in?
All right. Well, first I want to say this. When you were doing the intro, you did a great job. But then you mentioned something. You were like, he has a book. And I was like, I don't have a book yet. But listen.
I know it's coming.
You're manifesting for me. So I'm like, okay, she's letting me know I need to get on it. But yes, like you said, I do wear many hats. And it's so interesting because growing up, we were in a different time. We were in a period where our parents would lock in, for 20 years, 30 years and focus on one career and try to just be the best at that particular career. But growing up, I had so many interests, and people would say, hey, you need to just focus on one thing. And I would never listen to them because I felt like that would hinder me. It was like I am drawn to things for a reason. So I locked in, and my spiritual journey, it started off, in the fitness space and in the body space. And as I started to really develop, understanding of the body and then, how it works and then nutrition, then I started seeing that we can start healing ourselves through nutrition and different things that we can eat. And then after that, it took me deeper into my spiritual journey, and I started to really study the mind, primarily in relationships, because everything in life is relationship. When you're first born, and your mother is there or whoever that caregiver is that you had in your life, when you're born, you're searching for connection. And based on that connection, we start to create a lot of the ideologies on how we view relationships, how we interact with people, what is our standard, what is okay and what is not okay. So I really started studying, relationship, and I started to see that it's all about the relationship first with self. What is our relationship with our mind? What is our relationship with our soul? What's our relationship with body? So as I was doing this, the first business that I got interested in was fitness. So I started a fitness company. I had a mentor at the time, and he really just, helped me lock in. And I don't know if we're going to get, more into my story a little later, but I locked in fitness company. And then after that, I got into another business, had a very, very big win in business. And what I discovered is, this is what's so cool. It's so cool because now, especially since 2020, we're seeing everybody wants to, start their own business and be independent and not work for anybody. When I started 10 years ago, it was very challenging because I was the young kid who thought he was smarter, thought he was different, trying to do stuff. And people are just like, man, you keep trying things when you look up and your friends are 2, 3, 4, 5 years into their career. But I just felt like, the future is really about ownership, owning your time, owning yourself, and really taking accountability of what you want to create in life. So within that, fitness, nutrition, studying the mind and relationships, and then business. And what I discovered, because I had to figure out, okay, how does it all come together, right? So what I discovered is, for my life, I wanted to find out, how do I feel successful in my life? So what I discovered is, for me, there's 5 pillars of success. Mind, body, soul. Those are what I call the inner pillars. When you feel connected to yourself, when you feel like, man, I know why I'm here and what I'm supposed to create, then it helps you step into the 2 outer pillars, which are business. What are your gifts and talents, and how are you using them to create in the world? And then relationships. That's what friends, family, significant others. So mind, body, soul, business, relationships. Those are the 5 things that I really focus on. And when you think about it, they're all one thing because they deal with a successful person.
Oof. Okay. A lot to unpack there, because what I love is the fact that you took what you're passionate about and pursued it heavily. And as you mentioned, things are changing, especially around 2020 and COVID and all that it's brought to force people to start to take a look in the mirror of, what am I doing? I know I had that reflection period of, okay, what am I doing and what do I want to be doing and how can I get there? And for you, it's being able to create a career that aligns so well with who you are, but also to be able to do something bigger than yourself, to be able to help others, to be able to allow others to tap in. Even those 5 pillars of success you mentioned, like just changing people's perspectives and outlook to have a better sense of self and everything around them, which is so vital and goes such a long way. And so I want to get into more about your spiritual journey. But I first want to tap into more around these 5 pillars of success, because that is something so small but goes such a long way. So how did you come up with these? And then dive into them a little bit deeper for us around how they're all just kind of connected, but more importantly, how you came up with this, because I know that for me, as you were saying, I'm like, that actually makes sense. But it didn't make sense until I heard you say it. You know, like I wouldn't even have thought of that. So where did these 5 pillars of success come from?
Okay, cool. So they came, within my journey. What I started to do is I started looking around, while I'm trying to really figure out how I want to construct my life, because, we create our lives, right? We're the engineers of our life. How I want to construct my life, as well as I was tapping into these different interests, and I felt like each one of them was important for me to feel successful. So then after that, there's this test. I don't know if some of you guys are aware. There's something called Strength Finders. Very good. It's like $50 to take this test, but it goes and it analyzes your different strengths. Some people have a strength of positivity. Some people are connectors. And my number one is analytical. I'm very analytical. So I'm able to basically dissect situations. So a lot of my frustrations in life would happen when I would make a mistake, and I would then learn, about it so I can, correct my actions. And it was just like, why didn't I know this? Why weren't we taught this? Like, where are these keys to life? So my journey is about discovering these keys to life and then passing them on, to other people. But what I started to do is I started to analyze people who were successful. And I would see like, man, certain people have all the money in the world, but they suck at relationships, and then they're overweight. Then you have some people who got the fitness together and got the relationships, but they can't figure out how to get the bag, how to get money. And I started to look, and then I'll see people who look like they had it all, but they were like spiritually dead and they weren't happy. So I said, man, there has to be a key. What is a component in every area that if you figure it out, you will feel successful? So for me, I was like, man, I want to be the healthiest I can be. I want to have clear thoughts, a clear mind. Spiritually, I want to feel like I'm working in a purpose. I want to have abundant relationships. And also, I want to understand business, want to be able to teach business and have money and resources so that I won't be limited in how I give or how I show up. So when I really thought about it, I was like, man, if you become successful in all of these areas, man, you're really winning. So we need to teach a new blueprint.
It's interesting because as you were saying that, it just got me thinking of what we really learn. And look, I am a big advocate for education in all aspects and just being like a learner of life, because there are just so many things we can always learn. Even now I'm learning Spanish a little bit. I already know Spanish, but I'm learning more Spanish, I should say. I just feel like we should always be learning something. We should always be trying to find ways to continue to stimulate our brains, but also just take in more information. And it's just interesting to me, the fact that in all of our years of education, and I have my master's degree, so I'm gonna add 2 extra years onto that we don't have these conversations. But you really think about it, like we learn a lot of different things and across math and science and reading and health, and we have extracurriculars and specials, but we don't actually sit down and learn things like how our mind works in that sense, unless you're taking a psychology course or you're taking maybe an ethics course or something like that. So it is just interesting to me how you're able to bring these different concepts forward. And that's why I say writing, have a book, because you do have a book. It just isn't written yet. But I know it's going to happen. I'm sure, right? It's there. The blueprint is there. You just haven't put it on paper yet. But I know for a fact that, in all seriousness, that you're creating all these different tools to be able to help others. So let's take a step back, because your birth name is not Pharaoh, which I was like, okay, if your birth name is actually Pharaoh, I am blown away by the fact that it was manifested before you even got into your career, that you're going to be working in a space where you're going to be helping others. But let's backtrack on your spiritual journey, how you went from Ryan to Pharaoh, and then, from there, just kind of stepped into really accepting your passion and your purpose to help others. So Tell us a little bit more about that for those that are tuning in and don't know the background of your spiritual journey.
Gotcha. So I normally start this story, my spiritual journey, which started 2011. But, throughout the story, I'm going to give you a little context before then. So 2011, so I'm like 10 years in. Christmas of this year marks officially 10 years. And then, the 26th of December, we'll be going into, my 11th year on this journey. But what happened was I was at this point in my life, I was young, and everything in my life was going wrong. I know some of you guys have been at that point where you're trying, you're trying to be better, you're trying to do better, but it's just not working. So I figured out that I needed to change because I was just getting the same results over and over again. So what happened is I started Googling. Right now we're so blessed to have, Instagram and, people like Renee who are bringing different people to, the surface to inspire us, right? But back then, there was no Instagram stories. You could follow your favorite influencer, none of those type of things. And I started Googling, how to become successful, how to change your life, how to become rich. What do the rich do to become successful? All of these things. And I stumbled across this interview by Will Smith, and it, forever changed the trajectory of my life. And he was talking about this book called The Alchemist. And in this book, it's a story about this little boy who, he wants to go and see the world. He's a shepherd boy. So his whole livelihood, everything he knows how to become successful has to deal with him being in one place, taking care of these sheep and going through a similar routine year after year. So he had to make a decision. In order for me to go see the world, I'm going to have to basically cut off the world that I know, allow that world to basically die and step into the newness of the unknown. And guess what he decides? He decides to do that. Yep. And what he finds out is that the universe, conspires in your favor once you take action. It's like it has your back. Certain doors are going to open. You're going to meet people. And that's exactly what happens. And I read that whole book in a single day. And I was extremely inspired. And I said, man, I'm the little boy in this book.
It's me.
It's my time to discover my my journey. And the thing was, I still didn't have a job. I was still in between jobs. And the next thing that I did is I said, man, I want to do something profound so I remember this time in my life. So I looked up people, I grew up in the church. So I looked up at people like, Jesus, and then different religions like Mohammed and Gandhi and different people who are very inspirational. Steve Jobs at the time, Tesla. These are people who, changed the course of history. And I wanted to see what was a common thread. What's one thing that they all did? Because they had to have some secret. And one thing that I found, and which you called to me, was that they all fasted. It would be periods where they wanted a spiritual breakthrough, they wanted a mental breakthrough, and they just basically cut themselves off from the distractions for a certain period and locked in. And that's what I did. I went on a 3-day fast. It started the 26th of December, 2011. The last time I ate meat was on Christmas. I wanted to remember that date. And I went 3 days. Yep, 3 days, only water. And I started 2012, with this new person. And the first thing that I wanted to do was to change my body. I was a super skinny kid and I wanted to change my body. So I really locked in, got in the gym, and I came across my first mentor. And he changed my life. I had this goal. I was like, I want to be a millionaire. I'm gonna be successful one day. I'm gonna be able to help other people. And then it dawned on me one day, I don't know how to be a millionaire. Like when you think about that, we never think about that. We're like, we're gonna grind, we're gonna make it, we're gonna get money. But I didn't have the skills. I didn't have a track record of doing that. So I needed to learn from someone who did, right? So I was in Atlanta, Georgia at this time. So I met my first mentor, and I remember I set up a business meeting. I was all professional, put on a nice shirt, and he owned a restaurant. And I went in, I met with him. I wrote down some questions, asked him some questions. And then when I got done, he was like, you know what? You're really smart. You're a really cool guy. You remind me of, of myself. Man, if you ever need anything, just call me. You don't got to be so formal, just be yourself. So it was really cool. We were able just to see that on a personal level, like I wanted this, and I really was starting to embody success, and I was open to learn. And that's how I got one of my first wins as I started working out
Mm.
and really start putting in the work, people would come up to me and say, "Hey man, do you train?" And I was like, no. So I asked God, I was like, I need a sign. If I can be successful as a trainer, let another person come to me. And that same day, another person asked me in the gym. So I went to my mentor at the time and I said, "Hey, listen, I want to start this business. You own this pizza restaurant." We were in like the Beverly Hills part of Atlanta, so very successful and affluent people around.
Oh.
Say, "Can I put a very nice professional flyer? You approve it on the pizza boxes so that when people are in their homes eating this deep dish pizza and they're feeling fat, they look at the flyer and they're like, hey, I need to work out." And then boom, my info is right there. And then I'm working very well. I spent about $100 on those flyers and was able to grow a business within like 2 weeks with 15 clients. And my first goal was make $10,000 in a month. And I believe it was about month 5 or month 6, I was able to hit that. And then, my life just really changed, really, really changed after that.
Wow. I love it. Honestly, that's incredible because, when there's the quote and that concept that we don't understand life until we look back on it.
Yeah.
When you're going through it, when you're moving forward. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
When you're moving forward, it doesn't make sense. And for you, as you talk about like the different steps that helped you move forward, reading the book, The Alchemist, and just having that even that enlightenment, having a mentor, having somebody approach you and through that getting that sign of this is something I should be doing, investing in yourself. You talk about you spend money to put together flyers and end up growing a clientele from it, all these different steps that you're taking that I'm sure as you give us the spark notes and the quick version of everything from that December 26th decision to start fasting, or I'm sure it started before then, of course, but December 25th being the last day you ate meat
Yep.
to now fasting for 3 days from there, just this moving along and not really sure and having the faith and the confidence in knowing that it's going to work out. Whatever I'm supposed to be doing, I'm going to be doing. I always say what's meant for you will not miss you. Whatever
Yes.
it may not happen when you expect it to happen, but it will happen at some point as long as you keep moving forward. So here you are now, over 10 years later, and I got to, give you your snaps on that. That's awesome to even hear.
Mhm.
It's encouraging, it's inspiring, and you're major. You've got all this work that you're doing. You've got courses, you've got webinars, you're reaching thousands and thousands of people. What are you working on right now in terms of just being able to continue to grow in the work that you're doing to help others?
Very, very interesting. I saw on the intro, for the show, and it really it showed. I think it shows something about as far as Black Lives Matter or something doing with civil rights, and it's very interesting because during the time in our country last year when there was so much going on in civil rights and just so many things that were going on in the country, I really tapped in. And for me, remember, I'm always analyzing cycles. And I just see the same thing really happening over and over. And, we get upset and then we voice and then things go back to normal and then something else happens. So what I wanted to really figure out is what are the keys that people overall, everybody, I love everyone, that people are missing. And then specifically in our community, what are we missing? And there's so many things, a disconnect with self. So many of us who came from very bad areas and had to survive. We're continuously in this survival mode. We can't focus on thriving because we're surviving. So I really wanted to lock in and see how can we
Mm.
shift from those. So it was helping people connect with mind, body, soul, because when people are constantly self-destructing, it's because you have a disconnect with yourself and you don't know who you are. When we're able to see the God within us and tap into that God self, we become like God, a creator, instead of being destructive. So I wanted to create a system that can teach people, how to connect back with self-love, and then how to start adopting the mindset of abundance to start being able to create financial abundance. Because I felt like if we can connect back with our purpose and self-love, realize we have value, tune into our gifts with a mindset instead of poverty or survival of now thriving, then we can start creating our own economic abilities and join together and really create change. So what I'm really focused on, I created a self-love course, which is phenomenal. And I priced it extremely inexpensive. It's less than $100. So I really did this for people. But then once I start working with them, then we start working on the mindset for abundance. And it's really what I wish I would have learned 10 years ago, but what I started learning from that first mentor. And then now my goal is, it's so interesting because so many people focus on, how do I create more money? How do I get more clients? I wanted to create a system where I can just focus, how can I help more people? I know the more people I help, the more abundance and those things will come in, but I don't have to focus on how do we get more money. It's how do we get more change, help more people shift to an abundant mindset. And then the numbers are just coming in after that. So it's really phenomenal. So I'm working on helping our people, helping the world connect with self-love and create their own economic success.
Oof. And that's exactly it, and you're doing it for the right reasons. Of course, you want to have more money in your pocket. We all do. But if you're solely focused on the financial gain, you're missing out on so much more as you're sharing. If you have more people you're connecting with, more people you're helping, able to expand your reach, and now you're changing lives. First of all, that positive feedback that people are going to be sharing about you from their experience will only help you grow. If you're so focused on and being small-sided on just the financial aspect, you're going to miss out on much more. So, I think that's something that even as you're sharing is good that you're clarifying, because there are people, unfortunately, out here that see that there is this market around webinars and courses and putting out, hey, I'll give you this 10-step course, and for this you'll get this, and this. But unfortunately, not everybody's doing it for the right reasons. So we're falling into a whole other side of the career aspect, that people are trying to almost take advantage of others because of the fact that they know that this is the time to almost capitalize on that. So I like that you're being so authentic and so real in what you're sharing. And so again, for those that are listening, you have multiple courses. I know you were in Mexico, if I believe it was, that we spoke in the summer. You've been doing a lot of different things. So explain not only your self-love and the self-help that you're doing with your, I believe it's your 7-day course. Tell us about all the different courses you've offered recently, just to give people an inside look into the fact that you're out here doing things. You're the real deal. This is not a gimmick. You're really out here looking to help other people.
And yeah, thank you. And I want to piggyback. I want to go back a little bit before I answer this question. The reason why is, I want you all to really understand that, this level of focus, or even of, being able to lock in and really focus on other people, it didn't happen overnight. I don't want you all, so many times I feel like, people get discouraged because they look at people who've been like myself, who've been on a journey for 10 years, and it might be your first year, your second year. So I really want to encourage you that, continue day after day, and you will continue to build. Because after my success with the fitness company, I did another company. I had set this goal to make $1 million by the age of 30, and I was able to accomplish that through my next business. And what I did is I sold products at trade shows around the country. And within that product was an animal. The animal will take orders for these exotic animals called sugar gliders. Really smart. They come when they're called. They're in the same family as kangaroos and koala bears. Really cute animal. So I started making a lot of money. And what happened is, I wasn't really happy. It didn't bring me the level of fulfillment and joy that I thought I would have. Now, I felt good, like from an egotistical sense, like, man, I'm balling, I'm buying Louis, I'm doing all of these other things. But deep down, it was this desire to really help people. So I ended up, pivoting away from that particular business. And the reason I'm able to focus and lock in on the actual people now and not the money is because I've realized that we need to have, for us to feel fulfilled, we have to feel like we're really connecting and adding value to the world. We're building the world in some way. And there's different, forms of that. So, it took me a while to get to this point to be able to just lock in to people and really have that heart of service. And I wanted to share that with you guys, because I don't want you guys just to think that, I woke up and I was like this overnight.
I like that, because as you're sharing, it took 10 years. That's why I wanted you to take us through your journey, because this did not happen overnight. You didn't wake up one day and say, you know what, I like fitness. I think I want to fast. I think I want to help people. I think I want to build my own business. I don't want to work in a 9-to-5 anymore. It took you time to get here, which in itself is inspiring for others, because there are many other people that are near 1 year, 2 year, 3 right now, and maybe ready to quit and give up. But as you're mentioning, it took you 10 years. It might take somebody else 20 years. It might take somebody else 4 years. It varies for everyone. And I love the fact that something I always admire is there are people, when you look at the most successful people in the world, you talk about someone like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Oprah Winfrey and all these different people that we look up to and admire, where it took them a lot of failures, a lot of having to go back to the drawing board, having to fix things, having to like pivot and adjust and really focus on, okay, this didn't work, what can I do next? Or this isn't working how I want it to work, what can I do next? And reevaluating the work that they're doing, because it does not happen overnight and it does not happen easily as you're stressing. So I love that little tidbit. What is your advice to someone else? I mean, I know you talk about just, you know, kind of staying the course, but what is your advice to someone else right now? I'll focus first on the struggle of changing into a new season, because as we talked about before, this is a literal new season as we're getting into the fall. It's a new season around coming out of COVID. It's a new season as we're getting into the holidays. For many people, they're changing because of the fact that COVID is opening things up and whatever else we're going through around it. Maybe their job is changing, their family's changing, their family might be growing. There's a lot of change going on right now. So what is your message to people as they are navigating through that change of ways to just stay focused? Give us a little, I know you probably can talk about this for hours in itself, but what would be your biggest message to them and advice for navigating the change of season?
The first thing to do is to get clear, because when we're not clear, and I'm gonna dive into what get clear means, but when we're not clear on what we want out of life, what makes us happy, and where we're going in life, when we're not clear, then it opens up the door for confusion, for feeling stuck. That's when we start getting anxious, because it's like, man, what am I doing? I'm getting older. You're looking at everybody else. So the first thing that you can do in this new season, and which will set you up for a great beginning and phenomenal year next year, is to get clear. And the first question I would ask myself is, you know, what is the most important thing to me right now? And just ask yourself and be honest. You may be in a very stressful situation, and it may be a situation where I want peace. I'm tired of the drama. The most important thing for me right now is to get away from the drama. And as you start to evaluate that question, you may see, man, I have certain friends who always bring drama, or I have certain people at work who always bring drama. So it can guide you to maybe taking a break from certain relationships. But get clear, ask yourself those questions. What do you want out of life? And then set a big goal. You know, I always tell my clients when I first start coaching them, is one of the questions that I ask them is, what are 3 ways that you want to feel every single day? Right? So happy, you know, loving, you know, abundant. Okay. So I want to feel these ways every single day. Now, what is it going to take to create the life or lifestyle so that every day I feel happy, every day I feel abundant? And when you start asking yourself these questions, then you're going to start getting directed to answers, and then you can make better decisions. So many people are suffering. I'm going to tell you why. We're suffering because we have no plan for the future. So we're living day by day, and you cannot, we don't, this is our first lifetime. So we don't have enough experience yet to make those in the game plays without, you know, a coach, without a guide, or at least sitting down beforehand, creating a plan or some goals for our life. So get super clear, set some goals, and then take action on them.
I love it. And actually ties in perfectly to one of our comments that we have, Keisha, who is joining us and tuned in, who's asking, what should her first step be? Because she's thinking of creating her own artwork to help people learn how to paint. And as you talk about even being able to just figure out your why, sticking to that. So that actually perfectly leads into my next question. It's similar to what Keisha's is not only as we're just looking at the change in season, but I want to take a step back for those that are looking to create, because that is hard. I know I get asked that all the time. What should I do if I have, you know, people have a vision, they have an idea, they're not sure how to put that into action. And I know it's probably a lot of similar types of advice as what you just mentioned, but on the business side, what is your advice to someone that is looking to create their own and looking to be innovative and put their plans into action?
Oh man, this is so much fun. So, you know, there's 2 ways this can go, right? So if it was like a really big project or something, I'll give you the list of, you know, is there a need in the marketplace? You know, what's the problem are you solving? But we're going to take it to, you know, people who are right now they have a gift or talent like Keisha, you know, you're able to paint, and how can you go ahead and get started? So the first thing that, you know, I would do is create your why. Like, why do you want to do this? The reason why is because there's going to be there's going to be times, not opportunities, there's going to be times where it gets challenging, it gets hard, and you're going to want to quit. So you need to go back to something that's going to motivate you to keep going. Maybe you look pretty young, but I don't know, you know, for other people, maybe, you know, you want more free time, you know, with your children, or maybe you want to create more abundance for your children. So you have to be able to create something where you can control the product so that you can control your time. Whatever that why is, get very clear on your why. And then what I would do is I would either get a mentor in that same space. And if you can't afford that right now, then go on YouTube. YouTube has so many resources for everything where you can just really start learning from good people. I'm gonna give you a quick story. I have a friend, and I have other coaches. We were working with this one videographer, this young kid. He's 23 years old, and now he's editing. He started his own business. He completely learned from YouTube. Now he's making in between $10,000 and $12,000 a month at 23 years old, and all of his education came from YouTube. So there's really no excuse on, you know, really learning and focusing in on whatever you want to do. So as far as you with the artwork, Keisha, that's phenomenal, because we're at a time right now where people want to, you know, express themselves. What I would do, you know, from now stepping into the coaching arena for entrepreneurs, what I would do is I would create this program. I would find a niche. What I'm thinking of is right now, there's so many people who have to homeschool their kids. There's still a lot of people homeschooling their kids. There's still a lot of parents who have their kids at home. Why don't you create interactive program, target the different schools, because they're looking for some type of programs for these kids who are at home, and then you can cut a deal. You can cut a deal with them, and you can instantly, you know, start generating a great amount of resources, as long as it's really thought out and it's constructed properly. Because at the end of the day, all they're going to do is go through it and see if it makes actual sense. If it makes sense, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, 10 years old or, you know, 50 years old. If you can create something that makes sense, and then you know how to, you know, negotiate, that's something that you can do and change your life very, very, very quickly. It's kind of reminds me of, I had the idea to put a flyer on a pizza box, and I instantly had a business within 2 weeks. Changed my life.
Yes, dropping more nuggets and gems. My goodness, because I think I always have these same conversations with people, and there are so many local resources. You talk about for art, for example, with Keisha, and she is younger, to be able to tap into the local schools and take advantage of that fact that there is a need there. I know there are a lot of schools around the pandemic that had to drop their specials. You know, that they don't have as many teachers in the building. They might not have as many. I know the local schools around me don't have specials. So even being able to provide that, hey, I'll come in once a week and I'll have an art class for the students, or after school program. You know, I think that is something that we often lose sight of, the resources in our own backyard. They don't have to cost anything. They don't have to require you to fly across the world or like drop everything and do something major. To just start where you are. I always say that, start where you are. Yeah. If you want to do something, host a virtual art class, or go and do something, you know, at the local schools you mentioned. There are so many resources around us that we can tap into that we sometimes overlook. As you mentioned, putting a flyer on a pizza box, that's something that's genius. You know, the local pizza guy, that's your mentor. You slap some nice flyers on there. You've got an audience that you're now reaching. So what you're saying is just ties into a bigger message of being able to just start where you are, taking those baby steps, and then you're growing your audience the right way also. You're getting that direct feedback. You're getting an idea of, okay, what is working, what's not working, to continue to build and grow from there. So I agree with you 1000%. And I know we're running out of time here. So I definitely want to get into, before we wrap up, because you didn't specifically share it, but like I said before, I'm fascinated by your spiritual journey of self, and making that transition into being Pharaoh, and making that transition into really being able to embody the work that you do, and talk the talk and walk the walk. So, gotcha. You know, for those that are listening, can you share more about that change? You know, the literal change of your name, but also just the emotional change, to be able to have the confidence and to be able to have the mindset that this is what you're going to do and you're going to continue to pursue it.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you came back to this, because, you know, when I really changed my name, it was challenging. Well, what happened is I started, you're so welcome, Keisha. And I hope you're, balling out of control very, very soon. I started to change, and then I would go back around old friends and they didn't recognize me. They're like, man, you're so different. You're this and you're that. But what happens is people, when they don't understand, they try to cling on to the old identity or the old self. And I wasn't that person anymore. I wasn't trying to hang out and party and do all these things. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but all of the time, there was other things I wanted to do as well. So I was in meditation one day, and I really was trying to focus on, how can I impact, the world? And what really came to me is that instead of focusing on actual products, I know I create products, but like, what is the baseline thing that I'm focused on? What is the problem that I'm trying to solve in the world? Is getting people back connected with their bodies, with themselves. And when you look at ancient texts, they say that our body is our temple, right? This is our house. This is the house that our spirit, that our soul lives in. And I was in meditation, and what I heard was, you're stepping into the role of a pharaoh, the creator. And pharaoh means great house. So my role is to help build up people. So everything that I do, I want to leave, a person feeling better, feeling more inspired, more in tune, connected with themselves, more hopeful, because I had a conversation with them. So in that transition, Ryan, means king. So the first half of my journey, I was just like, man, I got to create the success. I got to do all of these things. I got to create this empire. But then it's like this name, Pharaoh, it kind of reminds you of king, but it's deeper. I'm focused on the people. And to me, that is my success. So I need to touch as many lives as freaking possible, because that's the only way at the end of my days that I'm going to feel like I actually fulfill my purpose.
My name means queen. Well, Reina is queen. So there you go. But I don't, that's what I was, as you were saying that, it hit me. I'm like, your real name means king. My real name means queen. But no, in all seriousness, I like what you're even sharing about the change and the way people start to notice that you were changing, because I know I even went through that myself, and I still do. I'm in my late 20s. I'm in that, like, I'm not a college student anymore, but I'm not married with kids. I'm a tweener. I'm somewhere in between, where I don't want to be partying all, every weekend, all day, every day, but I'm not, on the other side of that either. And when you talk about the changes, I think that is something that's hard for people, to be able to let go. It's hard to let go of the fact, well, no, it's not actually. It's very easy for me to make that decision to stop going out every weekend. But it's hard for some people to let go of who you were to become who you want to be, and you have to let go of some things. And I always think kind of like, I don't have a green thumb at all, but I understand it. When you have to, like, pull weeds and plant and get rid of dead and get rid of what's no longer helping the plant grow, so something new can grow in. That's what we have to do in our lives, is get rid of those things that are no longer helping us grow. And that's a big testament, as you're sharing, to your journey, that you can now share that perspective with others, of just the way that it's so vital to make sure that in these seasons, as you're changing, you're also evolving yourself and in your identity of self. So I definitely want to give you a chance to plug all that you have going on and be able to share with everybody. Where can they follow? What's your websites, your links, your what you have that you're working on in terms of your courses that people can check out? Let everyone know, plug and promo all that you've got going on, Pharaoh, for everyone to be able to check it out.
Awesome. So the primary way, that I would love for you to reach out is on my Instagram. It's right here, Pharaoh333. And I want you guys to know that I spend about 5 hours a day in my DM. So I will personally, connect with you, try to schedule a call if I can help you. If I can't help you, then point you to the right resources. But the primary focus right now is I have 2 programs. I have the self-love course. Those are for people who, right now they're like, I need help. I need an affordable option. And I want to watch videos and go through this digital journal and video set that I created. They want to go that route. And then the second route is a 21-day transformation. And these are for people who say, man, I want, to talk to you, want to connect with a tribe of like-minded people. And I want to level up mind, body, soul, and really focus on either improving my business or figuring out what a business can be for me. That's a little bit more intensive. So if you're very interested, or interested in, jump on to my Instagram. She put the social, man, you are awesome. She put the social tab down here. And, you know, let's tap in, and whatever resources that I have, I would love to share with you, because I can't change the world on my own. But if we can create an army of people dedicated to the same thing, man, we're going to look up and our whole world is going to be different. So let's do it.
Change the world one person at a time. Absolutely. Well, I'm also glad that you not only got the chance to share with us all the great things that you're doing, but also I may have possibly been watching the sunset behind you, because I've never been to Arizona, and it's
so
beautiful what I'm seeing
Yeah.
behind you. I'm like, okay, as I'm like casually like listening to what you're saying, but also watching the change with the trees in the background. I'm a little jealous. Again, it looks beautiful there. But thank you so much for taking time to join the show and sharing with us your journey, your spiritual journey, your career journey, and all the great work that you're doing through your courses, your work, and your book that you are going to be publishing
Coming
in
soon.
X amount of years. Coming soon. Thank you. I appreciate you for taking time to join us for our Positive Vibes Only segment here on Beyond the Headlines, and keep doing what you're doing to change the world one person at a time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. And I hope to connect with you all on IG.
Awesome. Well, there you heard it. 5 hours a day that he spends on Instagram. Pharaoh Kyle will be able to respond. He responded to me very quickly. He does get back to you. And like he shared, you can definitely give him a follow on his links here. But I thank you guys so much for tuning in and join us for another episode of Beyond the Headlines. I'm sorry I don't have a great background with the Arizona scene with the sun setting, but I'm happy to have at least been able to share with you some great insight around just growing your own and building your own. So as always, you can give us a follow across all social media platforms. You can tune into the show each and every week as we're bringing you a live new episode of Beyond the Headlines presented by Fox Sports. So I hope that you enjoyed this opportunity to learn, be inspired, have some perspective shared with you around astrology, mental health, creating your own, and really just the process of going about building a dream into a reality. So I appreciate you as always. I'm your host, Renee Washington. You can give me a follow across my handles. And if you want to keep up with all the great things that the show is doing, because we are doing some exciting new things. I did change my background, actually, in all seriousness, if you may have noticed. But we have some other great things coming along with the show. Our team is working hard behind the scenes to make things happen. So keep up to date. Give us a follow so that you can keep up with all the new and exciting things that we have going on beyond the headlines. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and enjoy it. Stay blessed, stay consistent, keep plugging away. And of course, as Pharaoh was sharing, just continue to take it one day at a time, chipping away at whatever that goal is, whatever that dream is, because you will wake up a year from now, 2 years from now, a week from now, and see the progress and growth that you've made as you stay the course and run your own race on your journey to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So have a good one, and I will see you guys more on Beyond the Headlines with your host, me, Renee Washington, next time. See you later.
Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.